Welcome to Nerd Hurdles.
Hello, welcome to Nerd Hurdles.
The Force Awakens.
Hey, no, say the thing.
Okay, the podcast that helps you overcome your geek prejudices.
With snark.
My name is Jacob.
And I'm Mandi.
So we finally got out and about and saw Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
We tried to go yesterday.
Which was the day after Boxing Day.
Yeah, Boxing Day.
Or was it? No, it was the day after Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, Boxing Day cubed. And, sold out.
Sold out.
For the noon showing.
We thought we were going to the midnight show, but it turns out it was the noon show.
And it looked like it was, just from the people that were there, it was going to be an absolute zoo for even like the 3:15 show. So it wasn't like, well, maybe we should get 3:15 tickets. So it wasn't even something worth suggesting.
Yeah, no, I would have vetoed that. Because you know what the problem is with getting tickets for the next show is? You have to get the first show in the theater. Otherwise, you have to stand in line in the hall.
Yeah, the standing in line in the hall isn't great.
No, I'm absolutely not interested in that.
I don't think I would want to stand in line, especially for like a Star Wars crowd. And I don't mean like the nerds, I mean like the families. Like a lot of families.
A lot of families,
and as you pointed out in the theater, I feel like these are a lot of families here, officially sick of spending time with their families over the holidays. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, not even overtly, but just, that vibe, kind of like, they're almost too quiet. Mm-hmm. Too quiet, too inward.
When we came and sat down, we were sat in front of a row of kids and a family. And we were a little hesitant to sit there, but they were all whispering to each other.
Yeah.
Like, before the pre-show thing even started, it was just a blank screen and a theater.
And they're like...
And they were all whispering.
Library voices.
That was the greatest family of life, except for the fucking mom.
Well, she showed up later.
Yeah.
I was like, well, let's sit in front of these people. They seem pretty good.
They are whisperers.
And then she shows up, and she was like a weird control freak, where she was like ordering everybody, giving everybody a job. Like, Danielle, you do this. Rachel, you do that.
Ben Kate, stay with the boys, and Rachel, go help with the popcorn.
And it was weird, because nobody was like responding to her. They were just falling in line. Mm-hmm. Like it was some sort of weird cult. And she was the head matron. And
like made this whole rule that adults would sit the row behind the kids.
Yeah.
And nobody really seemed to want to do that. And then like one of the dads was like, oh, well, Max and I were going to share a popcorn.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah. It was bizarre.
It was bizarre. I hated her so much.
But they were very well behaved during the show.
Oh, they were.
The girl sitting right beside me in the seat beside me was fidgety.
Oh, was she fidgety?
She was a fidgetor.
Well, the guy two over from me on the other side, every time the Star Wars song played, he sang along.
Oh, like during the movie?
Yeah, so during the commercial, there was like a commercial where it played before.
Yeah.
And he was like, dun, 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 dun. And then when it played like in the actual movie at the beginning, he was like, dun, 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 dun. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to prove to his fiance how much he
really
liked the Star Wars.
She seemed ready to go at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah. She was ready. She was cold.
She was ready to go when she got there, it seemed like.
She didn't really want to be.
She didn't want to be there. Because she knew her boyfriend was going to be singing the theme. And she's just like, oh, God, what? I guess it's Christmas. I guess I got to do this.
Yeah.
I can't break up with him until after New Year's.
Oh, good God.
Spoiler for that guy's life.
Yeah.
But anyways, just speaking of spoilers, there's going to be spoilers for The Force Awakens. Obviously. In this.
No one in their right mind would listen to a podcast about
I know. See, that's why we normally don't make spoiler alert warning thingies, because it's like, why? Who in the right mind? I always thought it was weird people get mad about spoilers in a podcast about a movie. An hour-long discussion with no spoilers. Like, what is that podcast going to be?
But we make spoilers about things that the episode's not about all the time.
Yeah, we do.
That's douchey.
Maybe. There's going to be spoilers for things that exist, probably, in this episode. But most specifically, Star Wars. The Force Awakens. Another thing you noted was, like, how amazingly people actually, on the internet, on Facebook, actually have not been spoiling.
Yeah.
Like there's those memes that were like, don't be an asshole, don't spoil Star Wars in like a week before it opened. And
I feel like there's only really the one spoiler.
I feel like that even that spoiler was just sort of like kind of expected. Like you kind of felt like it.
No, because I didn't even consider it going in. And then as the movie was going along, I kind of was like, well, somebody's going to have to die.
Yeah. Somebody who doesn't even want to be in this movie.
Yeah. Like, be in this movie, we promise you won't have to be in the next one.
Yeah, there's 2 more, and you don't have to be in it. So obviously, that we're talking about Han Solo getting skewered on the end of what is roughly a lightsaber.
A flame saber.
A flame. It's kind of like a barbecue lighter. That is like a jet-powered barbecue lighter.
I would like to talk about the actor that played, what's his name?
How much
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, how much he looks like Harrison Ford?
No, I think that, I mean, he's obviously not the right age for this to have worked out, but that is Snape. That guy is Snape. And at first I was like, who is this guy? This guy doesn't seem well cast for this part at all.
Right.
And then while they were standing on the bridge thingy, I was like, oh my God, it's Snape.
Well,
it's Snape. Hello, Severus Snape.
They essentially plagiarized the character of Snape for him. I mean...
No, but he looks like Snape.
But there's that.
In a way that Alan Rickman is not Snape for me, and I know people get really upset about that, and I love Alan Rickman and all, but he's just not Snape. He's too...
dignified and Alan Rickman-y.
He's just too soft.
It's one of those things where there's the character from the book, Snape, and that's definitely a character, and then there's sort of the Alan Rickman Snape, which is a different character, and you kind of have this like parallel universe thing going on, whereas I really like the Alan Rickman Snape. Like, to me, that is a totally legitimate Snape, but you're right, it's not the Snape that's in the book.
I think that the Alan Rickman Snape is just not all the way there. Like, I love it, I think it's good, and there's things about it that are great, but it just doesn't quite get there for me.
Yeah, well, I'm usually aware I'm watching Alan Rickman doing Alan Rickman, which is great to watch. I think part of it is most of the other characters are more or less the characters in the book. Like Daniel Radcliffe, you just fill in. Well, Harry Potter doesn't have a character really, even in the books. Doesn't. He's just a blob. But like
blobby blobber.
Rupert Grint, it's like anything you know about Ron, he's close enough to it.
I feel like he is probably the best cast of any of the people in Harry Potter.
I mean, they got Hermione wrong by not making her black.
Yeah.
Which,
fail. I'm so excited for Black Hermione.
Yeah.
I was talking to my students, like, I don't know, like a week or two before that about how every movie is like the handsome guy, the pretty girl, and then the ugly sidekick. One of the kids in my class was like, Harry Potter! And I was like, ooh, harsh for Ron. But yes!
Yeah.
And then we talked about how they're all white, and we talked about how, like, even Harry Potter, where it's like a book where they've like, at the time, it was pretty diverse because there were like brown girls in it and Asian girls and black kids and it was pointed out in a way that like other books it never is pointed out in.
Right, yeah.
So it's about time.
And like JK said, all it says is brown eyes and frizzy hair. You racists were assuming she was white.
Well, and there's lots of
like how many white people are going to name their kids Hermione? Come on.
How many black people are going to name their kid Hermione?
More likely, I think.
I don't know.
And it's kind of like a post-colonial vestige thing, like slave master name kind of.
Let's make a baby and name it post-colonial vestige. There's lots of things online where they've, fan edits or fan reimaginings where they've made Hermione black, and it's just always like, as soon as I hadn't thought about it before because I'm racist, as soon as I saw that I was just like, oh, it makes so much sense, and it makes it so much better, so much more compelling. I like Emma Watson, but I mean, she was never Hermione
in the same way. Well, she was too attractive,
and like she doesn't have frizzy hair.
They just hair they teased backcombed a
only
bit.
In the first movie.
Only in the first movie.
And it would make so much sense for like, a young black girl to have like internalized some racism against her hair because holy shit, is black hair an issue? Like, people who wear natural black hair are like radical because it's so frowned on.
Yeah.
Not professional.
Right.
people say. Anyway.
But yeah, no, but I think in a way, I mean, essentially, was his name Relo Ken? Kylo Ren? Kylo, is it Relo or Kylo?
I think it's Kylo Ren. Just
Kylo Ren.
think
because Rey and Ren would be too close of two first names.
Well, it confused me anyway because when I was like, he's Ren, but I thought that girl was named Ren.
Yeah.
It's Rey.
Right. So Kylo, I mean, he is sort of, if not a lifting of teenage Snape, he is based on the same emo goth teenage boy character. Fairly well done. Like, the problem in the prequels, when they tried to do the same thing with Anakin, is they like spelled out his entire angst in a way, and it just wasn't believable because probably George Lucas doesn't know anything about teenage angst, even though he did American Graffiti, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, you get the sense that he is this like kid who felt he couldn't live up to his father's stature, mythology, and so then he was like searching for something else, and then it turned out he
whatever. How is Han Solo somebody to live up to?
I don't know, but everybody like the way like Rey was like, and Finn, where they're both like it's Han Solo, and they had these two mythologies of what a great man he was, you know. And
I really liked how Finn called him Solo the whole movie, like such a subtle little thing, but it was so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's like this kid who felt like he couldn't live up to dad's image, or so then he follows uncle to go and try to learn how to be a Jedi and become great like that. And he kind of got the impression that because part of the Jedi rite of passage is to make their lightsaber, and he looked like he did it shitty. he couldn't, and he just got that he turned to the dark side because he was just shitty. He isn't any good. He isn't really that good at being a Jedi. And then he makes a stupid heavy metal fan kind of broadsword thing. You know, it's like, it's all like, it says so much about his character that he just...
Well, and it's all weird and flamey. That can't be like what it's supposed to be.
No, I think he just didn't know how to align the crystals properly, know, and like he made this like he just can't do it, or, you know, he's like...
That makes sense because... And that's why Rey, who wasn't like trained or anything, could like resist him. Yeah,
like he's just not a good Jedi, just the way like Luke wasn't really that good a Jedi.
Well, and do you really think that Luke's that good of a teacher?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
He just wants to go to Tashi Station still.
It is his fault.
Yeah.
He needs to get some power converters.
Which is kind of weird that he's on this weird little island in the Hebrides or wherever, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of power converters or drag racing going on there.
Or Tashi Stations.
Yeah, like he should be out. He should have been like out in the desert drag racing. That would have been a better Luke.
Would have been better
if Luke was like the dude from like he was just kind of living in a trailer somewhere in the middle of nowhere instead of this kind of mystical kind of island.
That would have been good.
And I think that would have been.
But I don't think he could have hidden in plain sight.
No.
He had to go to a star system that no one knew about.
Which doesn't make any sense. Apparently somebody knew about it because they have this giant map.
But that giant map was all the bits of the map. Where did the bits of the map come from? Did Luke like make these little bits of here's how to find me and then like spread them around?
I don't know. Well, I think so. I think it's going to be like some sort of weird master plan of Luke's to find the next true Jedi who will find him by doing this weird on a Voldemort-y kind of trick. You know, like breadcrumbs thing. I don't know. It's like
leaving a trail of Horcruxes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's kind of what Luke was doing. I think.
Hey, you were right about the chase that didn't really mean anything to the plot.
That was my prediction, that there'd be at least one chase where you could have just erased it completely from the movie and the plot wouldn't have been affected at all. I didn't know which one. Which one was that?
Well, when they were getting chased out of the Finn and Poe were running away
from the Star Destroyer. That's an escape, though.
I guess, but they could have just
they could have
gotten away.
They could have gotten into some escape pods.
Yeah,
like in the first movie. You know, if they wanted to keep doing the same thing over and over again, they could have gotten into some escape pods, maybe two different ones, and that's how they get separated.
Mm-hmm. One thing I heard a lot about this movie going in was that it was like this feminist odyssey, and that men's rights activists were all mad about it. And apparently somebody tried to like make a boycott of it, which like, come on, that's not going to work.
I think obviously it didn't, because they made in 12 days $1 billion. $1
billion.
Which has made me actually not want to go and not give those people any more money.
Yeah.
Which is like, it kind of felt like a little bit sick in my stomach giving them more money
Well,
at that point.
it turned out that we went on Cheap Tuesday. Didn't even know
that's
Cheap
right.
Tuesday was still a thing.
Apparently it's a thing, which is blowing my mind.
It's amazing. So we got in for what?
$7.99
$8 each.
Yeah. What's going on?
No problem.
Maybe, I wonder if that's just a matinee thing. Maybe Tuesday in the evening is still...
I don't know. I
don't
bet it
know.
isn't.
Maybe,
Because
yeah.
it just said Tuesday.
Yeah, we never go.
So the thing about this is, I mean, there were some overt feminist elements where she was like, "Why do you keep holding my hand?
Yeah,
Why are you holding my hand?" And I thought that was cute. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was a cute little nod to like the damsel in distress trope
Yeah.
that always
Yeah, I can't run when
exists.
you're holding my hand.
stop holding it.
Yeah. And then it was nice. It was a nice thing to showing like Finn's character as well, whereas he's like, I got to be the hero.
Well, and he
you
was
know?
just being so well-meaning, like,
Yeah.
and he was so unpretentious about it
Yeah.
that like no bad feelings came from
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah.
But the movie, I'm like 98% sure does not pass the Bechdel test.
I know. I saw a blog post. It wasn't one of the ones I saved because I saved a whole bunch of them to read after. The headline was, Ray is the Bechdel smashing heroine we've been waiting for.
Maybe in the next movie?
And it was her like, no, I don't, like, we racked our brains. Well, I mean, for one, when did she speak to other females for having even an opportunity to smash the Bechdel test?
I think that people don't actually know what the Bechdel test is.
I think they don't. And I think probably the writer of that, and I wish I'd saved that article now to know what the article was, because they must not understand like,
Because somebody else told me that it passed it.
yeah.
And I wrote online, I was like, I was so excited to see what it was that two women would talk about other than a man. I
Yeah.
just, what could it be?
I think people think it's that one when she's talking to the not as bad Asian stereotype alien as in the prequels.
Moss?
Yeah, Moss.
Yeah, but they talk about Luke.
But it's a conversation about Luke, and when they they sort of are talking about Ren going,
Ray.
and Ray going and following the Force or whatever. Ultimately, it starts off with talking about Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, and the whole conversation is
Framed by that.
framed by the fact they're talking about Luke Skywalker. So I don't count that. And it's like, maybe you could sort of on a technicality say it sort of passes, but it ultimately, to the spirit of the test, it does not pass at all.
No.
They're still talking about a powerful white man.
Where's Black Hermione when you need her? I bet you if Black Hermione had been in that scene, they would have talked about something other than a man.
They would have talked about,
Books.
yeah, books. Because she would have found some good books in that junk room, probably.
For sure. For sure.
Maybe some magical beasts, because that is where to find them.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're called. What are they called? What is that movie called? Special beasts? Magical beasts? Magical creatures? Where to find them?
Mythical beasts?
Mythical?
Magical beasts. I think you're right.
It's either mythical, magical, or
It's not special beasts. But thanks.
special animals and where to find them.
That was like the
Toronto
C
Zoo.
in multiple choice that you know it's not that one. It's definitely not special. It's
Unique
magical or mythical. When I was applying to go to funeral school, you had to take an entrance test, and it was like a science entrance test. And one of the questions was like, what is cell division called or whatever? And it was like mitosis, meiosis, halitosis.
All right. Do I get a lifeline?
No, it's you're just supposed to laugh at halitosis.
I know it's good.
Another one was what are the three states of matter?
Right.
And like the joke one was earth, wind, and fire.
So
I'm like writing this test, laughing my pants off. I'm like, no one else is laughing.
morticians have a sense of humor. Is what we're saying.
Well, I don't know. So I think it might have just been the college entrance test, because it might have been used for other things. Because you had to do a science one and a English one.
Right.
And that English one ruined my life.
In what way? Because you got into funeral school?
No, because I did well enough on it that I was exempted from taking English.
Oh.
So I was in a class of people who were like adults, like were grown-ups, or had already gone to university or had already taken the course.
Right, so not.
So I was like the only person in that class that was right out of high school.
Right.
And I had no friends.
Yeah.
And then people were mean to me.
Right.
I did end up making 2 friends.
Right.
The goth kids.
Right, the guy with his dog's ashes in a casket around his neck.
Yeah.
Going to funeral school.
Yep. But he wasn't like that. He wasn't like...
You've said this before. Yeah, like, but he wasn't like that.
Well, he wasn't...
He's going to mortician school. He has his dog's ashes in a casket around his neck.
Well, it was like a necklace.
He was misunderstood like Kylo Ren.
No, but he wasn't like a stereotype. I mean, it wasn't like a... Okay. It wasn't like a thing he was trying to do.
Right.
He wasn't like, oh, I'm goth.
Right, yeah.
He just was goth.
He just was goth. He just was a little death obsessed. Not.
But in like a wholesome way. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
he also he went to a book signing by, I've probably told this story on the podcast before. Yeah. I'm telling it again. He went to a book signing of Anne Rice and brought a box of Count Chocula for her to sign. Yeah. And she did. And then he turned it into a clock. And then she talked about signing it on, I guess, probably Rosie O'Donnell. The Ellen of the time. Yeah. Whatever lesbian talk show host was popular.
She was like, what was the weirdest thing you signed? And she's like, this kid.
Wearing his dog's ashes around his neck. Oh my God. I feel like this is exactly how we've done this, like, back and forth on the podcast, too.
I know. Well, because if anything The Force Awakens has taught me, it is you just take what was popular before.
Just bring the good bits back.
And just do it exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like, I think J.J. Abrams got the memo. We want this one to feel like, the prequels didn't feel like Star Wars. We want this to feel like Star Wars. And he goes, I can make it feel like Star Wars. Just grab plot points, Xerox them exactly. And they're like, that's not exactly what we wanted.
But because they talked about that sort of, or something like that in the article that you posted, and talked about how Star Wars was just taken from things that were taken from things.
But not so blatantly. Like, I've seen a lot of those things that George Lucas stole from and made this gestalt movie of his favorite things. It's kind of hard when you're watching them to see the actual Star Wars in it. Like, he did lift it in a way that was pretty organic and was more inspiration than plagiarism. Whereas this was, and especially because it is a Star Wars movie, it's not like, oh, I'm watching... When you're not like, oh, this is kind of like that scene in Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. It's like, this is this guy putting the secret plans in this droid and telling it to,
But you know what? I don't think it suffers from that at all.
I don't think it suffers.
I think it's good because of that. I'm interested to see what they do with the next one. That's what I want to see.
Well, they've already been to the ice planet, so they don't have to start off on an ice planet. That was my feeling too. It was like, even though it was too obvious and didn't feel like historic echoes, like history repeating, the Han Solo third act, sort of the Ben Kenobi Darth Vader meeting and the Han Solo Kylo Ren, it was like too close. It was too on the nose. They're even standing going, no! It's like it's framed exactly the same.
And the bridge over the tall drop.
Yeah, and it's like, Chewie says the same thing.
Are you sure?
Can
you do good Chewie?
No, I don't. I can't get that like chair dragging across the floor sound quite right. See, I'm like well, that was more like a chicken or something, but nope. I don't even know how you.
It sounds bad. Like you're making fun of someone in a really horrible way.
I sound like a 90-year-old man having a heart attack or something. I don't know. Yeah,
okay.
I don't even know how you go about making those Chewbacca noises.
People make them really well.
Some people can do it. I cannot. Yeah. But I thought most of the movie was better than those rehashed plot point scenes.
Right.
Well, like any good franchise has those things that repeat, right? Like, you know, like Bond goes to Q and gets his weapons, and it's kind of the same in every Bond movie, but you want that scene. You want to see that scene. And stuff like that. So like when they're looking at the map, it's like looking at the Death Star plans and stuff. And you want that scene in a Star Wars movie, you know. And it was just that showdown where Solo dies, where it felt like it was like, okay, this is too much, you know.
It also lasted too long.
Yeah.
I think just because you're like, okay, we all know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, like we know he's not going to turn to good because what's going to happen in the next two movies.
Well, we know that like Han even knew.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. I guess when he's touching his face, that's going to be like the thing that Kylo remembers or something.
What's going to be his final undoing.
It'll keep him chained to the light.
Mm-hmm. Chain me to the light.
But yeah, I thought most of the rest of the movie had the feel of the original Star Wars movies, but it was kind of actually new. Like it was done in a new way. It was done in a much more J.J. Abrams way, the way that people interact with each other. But it had that buddy movie feel to it, which the prequels didn't have any kind of buddy. Nobody in the prequels liked each other. You ever got the sense? Like you kind of felt
I would have liked to have seen a movie where it was Rey and Han and Chewie just doing stuff in the space.
Yeah.
That would have been good. I would like in the next movie for, you know, Rey to just keep being her, but for nobody to feel the need to point out that she doesn't need her hand held.
Right, yeah.
That'd be nice.
Like yeah, don't hit that again.
Yeah.
Now just have her be. Well, now, let's see, for reiterating things that from the old movies, it's Luke is going to be Yoda and she's going to be training on this rock and going into, well, she's already had the weird Force vision.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gonna be in a little backpack on her back, and she's gonna be doing running.
Oh my God! Please, God, let that happen. Please, God.
And he's like, "Size matters not.
Carry me."
I'm, you know, easily over twice your weight, but yeah, just carry me. That's what's going to be her story for the next movie, at least for the first act. But yeah, look, people have been talking about something that might get developed in the next movies is the romance between Finn and Poe.
Oh my God. Do you think there's going to be a surge of people naming their babies Poe?
God.
Because I think Poe is a cute name.
It's cute for a baby.
It's cute for a human.
I don't know.
My grandfather's name was Poe.
It's true.
Wasn't his name, obviously.
No. But what did you think of, like I could definitely see where people were getting their shipping from in that, because the chemistry between those guys was definitely palpable, and not in a bromance kind of way. Like he and Rey kind of have a bromance.
Yeah.
But he and Poe had like a connection.
Yeah.
And I was like skeptical going in, like, yeah, I was like, people are probably crazy.
You're like, people are just shipping.
And I was like, is that intentional, or do those dudes just like each other in real life?
I think that would be so nice.
Yeah.
I think it would also be especially nice if there wasn't if Rey doesn't have a romantic storyline at all.
That would be great. Well, and if she is the Luke, she won't.
Yeah.
Because Luke ends up not. As far as we know, we don't know what happened in the 30 years between movies, but
sounds like not that much though.
No, kind of failing and leaving.
Spinster school teacher Luke.
Yeah, exactly.
You have any cats, Luke?
Didn't seem like I had much of anything on that.
You don't know. There could have been cats. There was cats. You couldn't see them.
That's true. Why would they go outside into that barren rock? They would just be stay warm by
cozy cave
by the fire. Yeah.
Cats are a lot of things, but they're not stupid.
But yeah, I'm curious if that was intentional at all to have the Finn Poe thing, or if it was just they're supposed to be like really fast friends in a way.
It was beautiful. Like it was really beautiful when he saw him and knew it was him. Yeah. Just from nothing. Like he hadn't seen his face or anything. He just knew it was him.
Yeah, that was powerful.
It was powerful. It was probably the most like authentic feeling human connection in the movie.
Yeah. Because the thing when I was going in and I'd seen people post stuff about, this possible.
You have tears in your eyes about it.
I've been super emotional all holidays. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Whatever. I cried a bunch of times in Star Wars, like in the movie. And when we got home, I was like, it was our first Star Wars.
But yeah, because I was like, you can't almost have bromance in movies anymore, right? Like a lot of 80s movies, it was this friendship between men that wasn't necessarily, sexual at all, but just like a real bonding. And it seems like now, not to knock broader minds or anything, but every time there is a bromance, it automatically gets shipped into fanfic.
Yeah.
Homoerotic fanfic. And it's sort of like, it's almost like, I feel like now there's less male camaraderie in movies now almost because they're all super hyper hetero now. To the point where all men are like fighting, they have antagonism because they're always fighting over some woman. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have like just a bromance. And I was kind of wondering if it was just going to be like guys who are friends and they're like, oh, gay, two men being friends, obviously gay. But then when we watched it, I'm like, yeah, no, there's like chemistry between those guys.
Yeah.
But was it intentional? I don't know. Yeah.
Bollywood movies are good with the bromance.
Right. Well, I think probably any non-Western white Anglo got to keep your emotions to yourself. I'm sure
it's
like
also like a really weird combination of like this strange concept of like machismo, coupled with like some sort of deep-seated homophobia.
Right, yeah.
Like, not blatant homophobia, because I think lots of cultures that are like blatantly homophobic have that bromance thing.
Right, yeah, they do. Yeah.
But it's like, sort of the Western thing where we're like, oh, we're not homophobic.
Yeah.
So don't fucking touch me. I don't know, like it just seems to be this thing where you've had to like,
unless you've
pushed it down. Not that I'm saying having homophobic culture is good, but it's sort of like this, you wouldn't expect that, I don't think.
Yeah, you assume. Like in Italy, Italian men touch each other all the time and stuff like that.
And they don't say no homo after.
Yeah, exactly.
Or before.
It's just like they can differentiate between kissing your friend on the cheek or whatever and giving him a hug and a sexual act.
Which is interesting too, because I think that whole idea really connects into not all men, the Western view of women.
Right,
in relation to men.
Yeah.
Is that they're only there for men in like a sexual context.
So if anything sexual, anything they would do with a woman sexually, ergo.
To be with a man or a woman in a way that is similar in any way to like a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's a barrier to developing authentic relationships with people in every way.
Yeah.
What did you say when we started to record this? Fuck the patriarchy or something?
Patriarchied.
Oh, it was unrelated to this though.
Patriarched. It was because I had told you to do something.
Oh yeah, you were telling me what headphones to use. Right. And by telling me, I mean you got me some headphones that weren't really the ones I wanted.
Yeah.
I just remember when you first said it, I thought you were referencing what we were going to be talking about, but that's funny. I'm an asshole.
But speaking of romances and male friendships, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh yeah.
Which I've been playing the missions and we've both been playing just randomness.
Yep.
But yeah, that's like a weirdly long drawn out drama of male friendships. In a way that, because it got a lot of criticism when it came out.
Criticism for what?
Weak characters and just with no redeeming qualities, and that you couldn't relate to or get interested in their story at all.
That's interesting because I don't find that at all.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's because Grand Theft Auto 4, which had a Russian protagonist, everybody really loved that story. I didn't play it, so I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was just so good, but they always talk about they're like he was an anti-hero you really connected with, and you can feel that for Trevor and Michael and.
How are there no women, though?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, because there's one more slot for a character. Mm-hmm. And...
Of course, it'll be the last one.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if the girl that you didn't quite get to the hospital or the doctor, because they talked about how she was a driver and she was looking for a new outfit.
Yeah.
And I think if she had survived, maybe she would become that final piece of the pie piece.
She seemed cool. I think she might be a lesbian, just in those few minutes I spent with her.
It seemed that way. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like it's
really
quite
like
well
Grand
written.
Theft Auto 5.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, not having played Grand Theft Auto 4, I don't know if it is a lot better, but I think...
Herein there lie spoilers for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes.
What are your favorite things so far? Favorite moments of playing Grand Theft Auto 5? I'll go first.
Yeah.
Being on top of the mountain by the observatory and putting a sticky bomb on the base of the juice bar ball and watching it roll down the mountain.
Yeah, that was pretty
fucking great.
Yeah, so there's a juice bar with like a giant orange, I guess. Or is it? Yeah, it looks like a big tennis ball with a big orange, and then blowing that off, the juice bar, watching it roll all the way down the mountain. That was amazing. That was a possibility. That was in there. There's all sorts of like.
It's a really playable universe.
Yeah, and that's what everybody says. Everybody's like that. The universe is amazingly playable. You can just have fun, even more so than like Vice City was my previous experience, and it was
Mine
like
too.
Yeah, even more so than that. And then they say, but the actual like story was weak. And I could see the story being weak. Like,
I would say the only thing about the story that's weak is like the missions, like the actual things you do on the missions they're really easy.
They're easy, and this could be called driving somewhere the game, like you just half the mission is just getting from one end of the city to the other, and it seems like it's like before you even get to the actual doing the mission part, like there's some
whatever. That part's awesome. Why would you want to play Grand Theft Auto 5 if you didn't like driving around?
Because you're driving around all the time anyway. So once you get it, start a mission, I feel like make the mission closer. Like I don't.
Oh, you hate the driving.
But I don't like driving in real life.
You always pass me the controller when it's time to drive somewhere.
I'm like, hey, do you want to drive to Paleto Bay?
Yes. Give me it.
We're in the exact opposite end of the island. Here, you drive there. I mean, it's
and
to me.
The other time I drove to the city from Sandy Shores, and you're like, "Oh, you made good time."
Yeah, well, that's why I'm always like trying to, whenever I have to get somewhere, I'm like looking at the map and I'm like, well, it's green area and the dots over there just start going down.
To go straight. Gonna cut off this corner.
Yeah, and then I end up going over a cliff somewhere and dying.
And the car gets wrecked and you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So do you have favorite moments? Did you think of one yet? I have
I don't know
another one. My other favorite moment was when I climbed to the top of the crane and found a parachute there.
Yeah.
And then jumped off the crane.
Yeah, you enjoyed that.
That was so amazing.
I enjoyed when I just turned it on and Trevor was already in a 3-star police chase, yelling, "It wasn't me," or it was the other guy's fault, or something like that. It was a nice touch for them to just have that boot up thing going on.
I didn't like when you had to torture that guy.
That was disturbing. I did not like the torture scene. That was awful. But I feel like in some ways it might be... I was wondering what like the social impact of that could be. Like there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, you gotta torture suspected ISIS guys or whatever. In Guantanamo Bay or something like that. Like just essentially innocent people. Gotta find out what they know. And when it puts you in the shoes of the torturer and you're wrenching somebody's tooth out...
Maybe it doesn't feel so good after all.
Yeah, I mean, unless the person is a sociopath. In which case there's no changing their mind about...
I do feel like, and maybe it's just my perspective, but like I actually feel like GTA 5 is actually trying to teach some of those little lessons along the way.
Well, there's always, every time somebody says something homophobic, another character will call them out on it. Every time somebody says something misogynist, like the way these characters talk, right? And then another one will be like, dude, that's just not cool. You got to get out of your gamer gate head space and, and stuff like that.
But then because there's all this sort of, like you'll hear someone on the street saying something homophobic. You'll see different like things like that, or the situations in it are, well, they exist under the system of privilege and they exist under the patriarchy. So those sort of scenarios, those situations exist. So it's still sort of like, I don't think it's so obvious to people. Like, like you can still get those people in that need to hear those lessons.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, like when they started doing that. I mean, there's a lot of sort of anti-system kind of stuff. I mean, the whole thing is a kind of a giant satire of American culture.
Right.
With like the Life Invader stuff and the Black Ops kind of stuff. And
there's a really interesting conversation between Michael and Trevor where Michael's Michael's saying that Trevor's just a hipster,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
he's part of the problem that gentrifying Sandy Shores.
I think that actually might have been my favorite part of the game that we played so far. Yeah, it was great because Trevor is this psychopath, meth hillbilly that lives in the desert, basically.
In a trailer.
And just
Gives zero fucks.
gives zero fucks about everything. And
then Michael sort of accuses him of it being a carefully cultivated persona.
yeah. Yeah, it's just, and then, he's like, you're there, and then, the arts people start coming in, and and then it gets gentrified, and then you move to some other town. And then it happens again. You're the proto-hipster. Yeah, it's great.
And I love, he's like, I'm not a hipster. And Michael's like, well, that's exactly what a hipster would say.
Yeah. Other than the technological wonder that the world is, this giant 60 gigabytes of world that they created. Like, even like they had those chrome Maseratis, and we're checking out to see if
it reflected really what was around it.
what was in its surroundings, and we're like, yep, there's the distorted observatory and the fender. Like, that's the game is amazing in that, but I think the missions are kind of meh. But I enjoy also how easy they are. Like, there was missions in Vice City where I was just like, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, no, I know. And I think that that's good about it. Because, like, I don't know, you were having to fly a plane into the back of another plane. And I was like, holy shit, you're never going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And then you just get close and it just goes to a cutscene and you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh, well, that's okay then.
Yeah. There's some really fun missions and then a bunch that are kind of like, oh, this is easy or boring, or like this is a lot of flying somewhere.
But I feel like it's pretty good at not being too hard.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the hard parts...
I appreciate the not hardness in favor of it being like super fun.
But it's just hard enough that maybe you need a couple tries at it.
Yeah.
Or, you're like, whoo, I made it to that checkpoint or whatever.
There's lots of checkpoints,
Like,
which
there's
I like too.
enough to feel successful, but without it feeling like a drag.
There's so many checkpoints and it's not like, oh, I'm going to get through this and it's going to be like the next 4 hours of my life. Getting through all these checkpoints, it's like, it's only going to be 15 minutes or something like that. So for me, I don't know. I like it more.
Well, you're a casual gamer.
Yeah, maybe that's why people that maybe got bad reviews, maybe it's the more hardcore gamers were like, it's too casual. But for me, it's kind of perfect. Because ultimately, all I want to do is to free play anyways, and just, like, I like sometimes I'm in the mood to do some missions, and other times I just want to get in a car.
Shoot a bunch of cops.
And you like to go exploring and find, like, weird things in this world they've created.
Secrets.
Which it seems like, I'm sure wouldn't be as good, but Star Wars Battlefront is supposed to be an open world game that way. And the only screenshot I saw was somebody force pushing a stormtrooper off a snowy cliff into a TIE fighter that was flying by.
I don't know. I think what I like about Grand Theft Auto is how realistic it is.
Oh, yeah, totally. I don't really want to play Battlefront, but it was a segue. It was a failed segue getting back to Star Wars.
Oh, sorry. Is that what we're doing?
Unless you have more GTA stuff to talk about.
No, I don't have more GTA stuff to talk about. I just feel like I like the movie, but it's kind of telling how enthusiastically we're talking about Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
On the Star Wars podcast.
I think all the, like sort of people are asking me what I sort of thought the impact of Force Awakens would be. And I was like, I think it'll at best be a really good action movie. At worst it'll be like the prequels or something. But I was like, realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But at best, it's just going to be a good action movie, like Guardians of the Galaxy or something. And it kind of was just kind of a better Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought. I think it was good. But at the end of the day, it's like Return of the Jedi or something. It's just a buddy movie where...
Well, they're all just movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a movie. So I don't know, like, I feel like people have all these expectations and all of these, like, it means so much, but it's just a movie. Like,
yeah, I've never, even when I was in my most devoted but like super Star Wars fandom phase, which was really tied into more of a nostalgia thing, I never really found any like deep spiritual meaning in Star Wars or anything like that. And this too, it's like, this was a really fun movie is good. There's no like huge flaws that jumped out at me where I was like, oh, well, that was unfortunate because that's a huge loophole or anything like that. It was nothing that struck me as being too cheesy to really accept or anything. It was just kind of, but at the end of the day, it was sort of like leaving the theater going, well, that was fun. That was good. And that's kind of it.
So I have a question for you. So I'm just sort of thinking about, like, I was just saying, oh, it's just a movie. But, like, I definitely remember a time when Star Trek or Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or, you know, all of these things were a lot more than just a movie to me, or a TV show or whatever, or a book or whatever.
Right.
And that for all of those things, it was definitely like an escapist thing.
Right.
Is that the appeal of Star Wars to people? Is it escapist for them?
Could be. Well, I mean, I think ultimately any of these big fandoms, it is. I mean, they're all pretty silly stories, really. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, it's all kind of goofy.
Take that back.
It's goofy, wizardy kind of stuff, you know. Star Wars is the same thing. Jedi, wizards, interchangeable. So it's escapism.
Like, I like, you know, I liked watching Star Wars. I enjoyed the movie, but I just don't get that rabid kind of devotion to it.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to sort of think about,
Things that
my
you were-
own self, and I definitely was like that about Star Trek. But, like, I feel like I've grown out of the ability to obsess about things like that. Or maybe not grown out of. It's just something I don't do anymore.
Yeah. For me, it's like more of it, less of a...
But is that sad? Have I lost something?
No, I think it's gained.
But I don't know. Like I was really happy when I was obsessed with stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not happy now, but was I happy because I was like, I don't know.
Was it because you had a better world to escape into and that made you happy? And now
now I don't feel like I need to escape.
But the world is just good enough. But also not magical. There's no wizards. There's no Jedi. There's no Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
To be, yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. This is why we play Grand Theft Auto 5.
To make our world feel better than good enough.
Yeah, exactly, or something like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we need to escape into a parallel universe where
shit's worse.
But at the same time, we can just
we're free.
drive a car up a mountain with no repercussions. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like
I don't think there's an answer to this question, obviously.
But I think it's part of maturing, getting older, leaving childish things behind.
I don't know if it is necessarily that, or if it's because I don't really feel like. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't really know anyone who's like super into something like that really well.
Right.
Like I don't have a deep personal relationship with anyone who's obsessed with anything. So I don't have a window into it. But I was going to say, like, I don't feel like the people I know who seem really obsessed, I don't know that they're childish, but I don't know them well enough to be able to say that. But
I was not trying to say that they were childish.
No. I know that you weren't, but I was about to say that they weren't, but then I realized that I don't actually, like, I can't say that. Yeah. Like, people on the internet or you're friends with your colleagues with people, you don't know.
Yeah, right.
You don't know what their life is like or what they missed out on as children that they're making up for now or what.
I will say, like, there's that shot in the hangar bay, and it's like just before Ren starts crawling down the side to get into that. Ray pulls that lever for that thing that pops out. Why they designed that way, who knows?
It's an access portal.
Yeah, it's an access portal. She goes. But anyways, there's those oblong shapes in the wall, the lights.
Yeah.
Seeing that definitely took me back to being like 5 years old again. That definitely transported me in that nostalgic way. For that few seconds, I was back in that. I'm in the
womb.
I'm back in the Star Wars universe. And everything is good.
Simpler times.
Yeah.
I guess that's a different thing. Like, another reason that people could be into it, too, is that chasing that nostalgia piece, right?
Well, that's definitely what I was doing in the 90s when I was, my life was not that great. And I was buying all the figures and stuff. I was chasing a high that you can never get back.
That's interesting, because my obsession with things have never been about that nostalgia piece. So that's a piece I don't understand.
Well, you were watching things that were also being made contemporarily, like Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings movies. In the 90s, there were no new Star Wars movies. It was all in the past. So it was only...
But I would have been reading fan fiction then.
Yeah, and I
And like,
And I was oblivious to the existence of fan fiction.
I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't really accessible until the internet really
Yeah.
got going. Because fan fiction is a way to like not lose that place,
Right.
that wherever,
Right.
that world or that story or those people.
Well, you still read
Yeah,
Potter fan fiction.
I do.
We had talked about it before. It was like, so you'll complain about a particularly poorly written one. You'll be like, well, why are you doing that? There's all these stacks of physical real world books that are really good all around us. Like, why are you not reading some of those? And you're like, because it's like, I read for escapism. Mm-hmm. So you are still.
I am still doing it.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's like you could probably, if you were tracking like stress in my life with fan fiction reading, it would be a parallel.
Spikes
at the same time.
Yeah.
For sure, because when I'm not stressed, I tend to not really read it at all.
Right.
Because sometimes you just need to go somewhere else.
And I guess for me, the difference, like, I mean, I still like Grand Theft Auto, escapism.
I don't know that that's escapism. It's just a game.
Or watching anything is
yeah.
escapism, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I don't think escapism is a bad thing. I mean...
No, I don't think it is.
Boring otherwise.
I don't think it... Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
God, am I just going to live in this house with you forever? Ugh.
I think for me, just the difference is a Star Wars figure or a bobblehead or something does not trigger that escapism for me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the difference. And to a certain, going to this movie for a few hours, I mean, yeah, I was in another place. Mm-hmm. I could not separate Star Wars, what it means culturally, and my like intellectual feelings, you know, because I was really curious about the movie just on like a anthropological kind of level, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of was a bit of a blockade to me, like just watching the movie.
It suffered from the success of itself.
Yeah.
Like watching it and like seeing Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, I'm just like, oh, hey, there's Harrison Ford who played Han Solo and Carrie Fisher who played Leia, and like they're such like pop culture icons that like I can't separate them from that.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole movie was almost like this little outtake or like this little fan film.
It totally was a fan film.
And I don't think it's bad because of that, but I felt like that idea was present for me a lot of the film.
Yeah, for me too. Exactly. And it kept me a little bit outside of it.
But then being a little bit outside of it was sort of fun in a way too, because there's all those little nods to like old films and stuff like that that were like fun. Like I don't think it lessened the fun of it for me.
No, the only one that was too blatant was calling the new weapon the Star Killer.
That was pretty bad.
Which of course was the original character in the first draft of Star Wars wasn't Skywalker, it was Star Killer. And everybody knows that, even people who aren't even casual fans know that one pretty much. And it was just like, that's, Finn holding up the little droid or the remote practice thing and tossing it aside. And that was like the perfect little nod. Mm-hmm. But then calling the thing the Star Killer was just sort of like, whoa, fourth wall broken kind of thing almost. It's like J.J. Abrams is like standing there winking at you. And it was like...
and winking in that creepy way that my brother does, where he just sort of closes one eye. Which I know that's what winking is, but he does it in this way that's like so creepy.
Well, it's like, it just closes. There's no expression to it.
No, it's just like an eye closes. It's like blink. It's like a one eye blink.
I think that robot's malfunctioning.
Yeah.
It's super creepy. All right. Bottom line.
You liked it.
It was a good movie. It was not a bad movie.
Not a bad movie.
I mean, this thing, you can quibble about whether or not...
Well, here on Nerd Hurdles, we can find something wrong with just about anything.
Whether or not the rehashing of plot points was good or overdone. But, I mean, who cares?
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. Which is what I predicted. My reaction would be, it was good. Meh.
Nerd Hurdles.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. up, fuzzball. Wrap it up, fuzzball. Wrap it up, fuzzball.
Impressive. Don't make me destroy you. Don't make me destroy you. Don't make me destroy you.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Don't do that.
I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board. I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
OP religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid. No mystical energy field controls my destiny.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
OP religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Don't get excited.
If you only knew the power.
Don't get excited.
No mystical energy field controls my destiny.
Don't get excited.
OP religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Don't get excited.
No mystical energy field controls my destiny.
Use the Force. I have you now.
I am Luke Skywalker.
I have you now. If you only knew. I have you now.
I am Luke Skywalker.
If you only knew the power.
I am Luke Skywalker.
If you only knew.
I am Luke. I am Luke.
I have you.
I am Luke Skywalker.
I have you now. If you only knew the power.
I am Luke Skywalker.
You will join us or die, Master.